Usually my approach is to go out there and putter around, even if I'm only picking the weeds, or moving some rock or raking something. That's my usual approach. But recently, while I was recovering from a surgery, that even was too exhausting and too painful. And I found that I really had to get used to just being in a place, even when all I could do was sit there and breathe. You can start again, outside or indoors. Find somewhere you can be still and undistracted. Even if you cannot hear your heart, you can feel your breath, and that is all you need. You listen to nothing at first. You listen to nothing until it slowly becomes something. It might be a sensation, or a wish, or a feeling, or a vision. It may not happen the first day, but it will happen. If you open up the pathways, inspiration has no choice but to seep into you from the heavens and the depths. You allow yourself to become a vessel by staying as connected to your source as possible, by opening up the channel, by listening with intent. Perhaps you really want to work on yourself, but you have all of these questions locked in your body. You want to have more courage to change, but your fear of the unknown cramps you. You want to stand up for yourself or someone else, but you have all these examples, all of this human-made evidence of why you are not worthy. You worry, what will people say when you show them the truth about you? Your body wants to do new and unfamiliar things. You want to come pouring out of yourself. It can happen, and it will. It takes less effort than you are using. Breathe now. Be right here, now. Turn your face to the sky, which has always shown up for you. For a few seconds, turn off your mind. When you see the natural, bright colors of a bird, when you see the shock of a branch bursting into flower, when you see the sun reflected on the face of a glittering high building, you must recognize each miracle as part of your existence, memory, story, as something you belong to. There are some days, many of them, when we are apt to forget this. We are human, and often we think of ourselves as lone, separate entities, forgetting that we're connected to this odd and expanding universe, forgetting that we are part of something vast and unexplained, something strange, something larger than life. The next time you can, go outside and find an ensemble of trees. Stand underneath the knowledge, the expanse, the just so-ness of nature. Breathe in time with the nature you are looking at, concentrating on only the sound of your surroundings. Every time another thought comes into your head, respond with breath, turning your attention back to your source, back to nothing else but the sounds of the outdoors. Breathe deeply, with as clear a mind as you can muster, with no other intention than simply being, belonging completely to this moment. This moment is here only once. You are as brilliant as the best thing in nature and could only be here because you belong here, wild and unpredictable as everything else.
We now have several members of our congregation who have offered to share reflections about the things that give them solace or comfort when they're in need of healing. We've changed up the order just a little bit, and I want to let you know, especially for the reflectors, so that they realize. We'll begin with Chris Bailey, who's going to share with us looking for humanist comfort in times of fear and change. Chris will be followed by Lauren Clement, and then Sarah Desmet. And we'll finish with a gift given to us by Diane Barker, although she couldn't be here today. Okay.
Sometimes you choose a title and what you come up with at the end isn't exactly what you named it. And I loved the reading. Thank you. I'm afraid mine's a little less poetic, a little more nuts and bolts. I was asked to share about what brings me solace or healing, which naturally implies some anxiety or trauma, be it emotional or spiritual. And we're facing the potential for some, if not bedrock, then foundational changes here in Kansas that cause a lot of anxiety, and justifiably so. But you see here a privileged, white, male, cisgendered attorney in the 21st century. And I can tell you that that's not a bad gig. So I'm not really an expert in these matters, but I can share my own practice when facing the nominal adversity, but tremendous anxiety that can befall one so blessed as myself. Not that there's anything earth-shattering, but I like hearing how other people do the same things I do. Sometimes I learn things, other times it's just validating. Not sharing a belief or vision in any higher power that has a plan for my existence, I lack the immediate comfort that some people get from placing themselves at the mercy of a benevolent deity who is only trying to teach me something or use me for something. So I'm starting at what a lot of people would be step 2. I tend to intellectualize distress, get my head around it, think about what can be done, even if that just means experiencing the feelings. Mindfulness is required when times get tough. So here are my steps for when things are going pear-shaped. And if they sound trite to you, then take comfort in that, because that means you are not alone, and perhaps we're both doing it right. So to quote the titular volume of Scott Adams' A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, don't panic. If it's not bleeding or on fire, then there's time to think about things. The choice, the decision not to panic is itself an act of control and something of a comfort. While thinking, don't catastrophize. That will only make things worse. upstairs. It's easier to imagine the next terrible thing, to imagine meanings and consequences and follow-on effects. It's the trap of a mind that's tending toward panic. And next, don't lose faith. Yes, faith. Faith in our innate ability to survive, to work with the resources at our disposal, to find a new equilibrium. That's where every living one of us, that's what every living one of us is doing, minute to minute, every day. Faith that more change is coming. The only constant is change, so I derive some cold solace from the notion that something was always going to happen. Just this time I didn't like it. I do remind myself to consider what I realistically and constructively can, should, or might do about the issue to ameliorate the situation or source thereof. Frequently, despite all my American privilege, mundane wealth, and middling intellect, there's only limited action available to actually fix the problem or issue. Life happens. There's no stopping the world and the inevitable changes. The first question is how I choose to respond. So I seek comfort or solace. Doing, planning, or organizing the realistic or constructive things to address the problem if there are any. Remembering that frequently there is nothing in my power to do, and if so, resolving to feel the feelings. They become less acute over time. Seeking out the company of family and friends, both for the company and to commiserate. Sorrows shared become lighter to carry. I come here. UUs are the greatest. They're my family, and just when you need that something, you always make me feel better. Taking some action, any action that benefits anyone. I may not be able to fix the world, but I can probably use my privilege for good and do something for somebody. And finally, some form of mindfulness meditation, enjoyment of nature. Actually, singing in a choir is immensely comforting, and I find the best form of for me, the best form of mindfulness meditation. It may not be much, but I had to learn it all the hard way. And I hope that it resonates. And if anybody has suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Our next reflector is Lauren Clement. A couple of weeks ago, preparing for this service, I had put a post up on our UU Facebook, our Coffee and Conversation group, asking, when times are hard and joy is scarce, what do you do to infuse your life with some joy? And Lauren had shared a wonderful reflection about his grandfather, which she'll share with us today.
Thank you, Katie. Chris, I don't know how I can follow what you just did. We are both very privileged. We share a lot in common, but you're a much more eloquent speaker than I am. So Katie asked me through that note, what comes to your mind? And I thought of my grandfather right away. Now, I'm afraid this is going to come off as being really very self-indulgent, so I'm going to ask you right from the start to forgive me. In tough times, there's a family touchstone that I go to for inner strength and determination to act when I need a shot of joy or peace of mind. My maternal grandfather, James Carey Evans III, comes to my mind. We knew him as Pops. He was born in 1900. And his was a very entrepreneurial family that helped develop the waterfront of Buffalo, New York in the early 19th century, with freight and passenger ships sailing the Great Lakes, a ship canal dug in 1820 to assure that the termination of the Erie Canal would be Buffalo, and grain elevators, among other investments. Pops was a key teacher of mine, particularly when I was in high school in the early 70s. And visiting him and working for him during the summers at his home in East Aurora at a place called the Schoolhouse. He was keen to bring people from various walks of life together, from the university and elsewhere in Buffalo, for dinners, parties, and events, to share and develop wisdom regarding important issues facing society, or just have a lot of fun. He was a prankster, which got him kicked out of Yale. We spent long evenings on the western-facing terrace, looking out across expansive lawns, formative experiences to say the least. But my strongest memories are of working together on projects that were of benefit to him, his family, and the vibrant community of which he was a part. He taught me the joy to be had in accomplishing place-based improvement and maintenance projects, either in a team or alone. And he was a scavenger. He reused and recycled materials for building things way before they went mainstream. I carry on his way of thinking and making to this day. So many times for Solace, I go outside, usually to the barn, and I find some small thing that I can fix without buying anything. As I do this very small project, I think of Pops and how he would start his summer days up at his Canadian island camp with a slow bow to the rising sun in the east, making himself as small as possible, and then opening up with arms outstretched and up to the sides, while thanking the powers that be for another day. He taught me to be grateful for what we have and to take good care of ourselves, our families, and our possessions, to take small steps in order to make some progress on projects, large or small. He also taught me the value of rest and pacing myself on large or difficult projects. So Katie, that's for you. Now, two more thoughts. Coincidentally, many members of Sela's, Lynn's, and my family are up in Ontario right now at their summer camps at the west end of the North Channel. Today, they are celebrating the lives of my mother and her two sisters, the three daughters of James Carey Evans III, along with my father and other relatives of that generation who have passed in the past few years. Oh, if we could just be in two places at once without health issues or concerns. Second thought, Lynn and I want to thank you all for your support the past few months in many forms of care that are very helpful and much appreciated. We're not quite out of the rough patch yet, but we are getting through it. And this family, part of our extended family, is much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I loved what he had written on that post because of the simple act of getting up and going to find something that a person could contribute to. And I know also how healing that can be, and I bet a lot of us in this room do. I'd like to welcome Sarah Desmet to share a reflection. Thank you, Sarah.
Hello. I'd like to begin with a quote from D.H. Burnham, the architect and a druggist's son from Chicago. If I were able to take the time, I believe that I could prove the continuation of life beyond the grave, reasoning from the necessity, philosophically speaking, of a belief in a universal power. This has been much harder than I thought. I'm not sure I understood the assignment. I've been asking myself for weeks now, how much does it hurt today? Which hurt are you waking up to? And when and where and with whom did it hurt a little bit less? Maybe even a lot less. Because if living hurts less now, I must have healed something, right? I was gifted a puppy when I was about 5 or 6, and it was run over on this road, Seandale Road. When I was told the dog had died, I think it was nighttime, everything seemed very dark. I cried, but all I really knew then is that I didn't have a puppy anymore. Years later, I got a puppy, actually 2, and they didn't die for many years. And then they did, and I remained. A meat sack in a human skin suit with a smaller hole in its heart from the passage of time. Now, I don't particularly want to share with you my trauma. No, not the puppy, and not the big stuff that really laid down the anger, sadness, and the breathlessness like you just got punched in the gut. All the emotional reactions to words that can never be taken back, truths that perhaps didn't need to be revealed, the facts that don't matter anymore. And I won't. I'm not going to share the trauma. This is a story about a boy who dies and a woman who says goodbye. And I love you. Now that I can claim to be closer to death than birth chronologically, all the people I've known have filled the holes in my heart, now open to the fact that my memories are the life beyond the grave, my life. Now, this is a well-known fact, but I only just discovered I can feel it. Here's the picture I've been painting for almost 40 years, the character of a friend. That is the character I've made of him for me since he's been gone a very long time. I often conjure him to help me make core memories, emotional experience activated into consciousness by focused reflection. I believe I have a technique many others must use to make these memories. When something happens that I know will slip away if I don't take a picture, I say his name and let him look through my eyes. And I take snapshots and I say they're from his camera. I can always close my eyes and look at them. He's the photographer, not in the picture. We were 16 and he asked me to the movies, to the Vista Theater on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. It was a double feature. The Year of Living Dangerously with Mel Gibson and Breathless, the remake with Richard Gere. It was a dark night when we got into his sister's Toyota Supra. As he turned onto Sunset heading west, he said, "If I drive 55, we will hit all the lights, all the way to Santa Monica." And he sped up. Undisciplined like every other teenager. Once he was nearly run over while riding an Italian bicycle with centimeter-wide tires. The bus ran over the bike. And rock climbing. I watched him one time hang off a rock 6 feet above the ground, upside down, and hang there. For graduation, he took that trip to Europe his parents had always promised him. He sent postcards to everyone. Then the postcards stopped. Interpol found him several weeks later at the bottom of a cliff, as remote as you can get in the mountains of Chamonix. Damn it, fool. Rock climbing alone. The only way I could explain it then was, I'm never going to see him again. Door shut, cliff edge, then the void. Dark matter. That was the first time I felt those emotions of finality. I think we've all felt these. I have many times since. And for that, I know today, I know where it hurts and that it doesn't hurt as much, maybe even a lot less. And for that, I am grateful. What has now become a deep understanding of mortality. The way I explain it to myself today is accepting there will always be absence and solace in that space. I'd like to read a poem from Johnny Brantley III. Death is a powerful thing. Death is a powerful thing. It's something we're taught to fear because it takes away the ones we know and love, and it takes away the ones that we don't. It signals the end of things, and we're taught about the other side. For us, that means something, but for them on the other side means something completely different. To them, it's hello. Here are my friends, where time knows no end, a place where you can be free, free of time and space, no blood, no race. Everything is everything. And in this everything is this new space.
Sarah definitely understood the assignment. And it was a hard assignment. And so I thank everyone who chose to share here today. Diane Barker had also planned to join us. Some of you are aware that she lost her husband, Chris, back in December, and her work to wrap up his estate in Oklahoma and his affairs in his home have kept her down there. So she's not able to be with us. But she asked and gave me permission to share with you something that has given her a lot of solace while she's been there doing that very hard work. And that is the chorus of, I'm gonna get the name wrong, dang it. Now Diane will have to tell us the proper name, but it is a gray tree frog. And she recorded these very same frogs outside of their home. Let us have a moment of silence with the frog chorus. We have a few moments, and this will be a surprise for our wonderful tech folks in the back. Is there a microphone that we would be able to pass about? Excellent. Do we have a volunteer who might be willing to walk the microphone around? Yes, thank you, Dan. I'd like to ask if there's something that you do to bring joy into your life in those times when joy is thin and hard to find. Would you be willing to share it with us?
Gene Sievers. I've had a change in my life, and one thing I'm looking forward to is getting back to doing my pottery more. That act is somewhat therapeutic for me, and one of the main things, I love to dance. I don't have the opportunity much more. My dancing in my younger days was next to random, if you could describe it. But my pottery, I've learned, does my dancing now.
I'm smiling really big behind this mask, thinking of you dancing, Jean, and enjoying dancing and the dance of the pottery wheel. Raise your hand if you'd like to share, and Dan will bring the mic over to you.
I just wanted to reflect on one thing that Lauren said, which is in times of high anxiety, I too will identify something around the house that's been bothering me and take care of that. And when I'm done, I frequently take a nap.
That's great.
Larry Weaver. The world often I feel anxious because there's so much going on that's so wrong in so many places. And I wonder, what in the world can I do, as Chris was saying? And frequently there's not very much I can do. And the way I find some measure of, I can't say solace, but at least relief, is to do something, whether it be write the postcards for reproductive freedom or have a conversation with a friend. A member of this fellowship one time long ago asked me, how can you buy a bottle of wine when people are dying of hunger? The only answer I've ever been able to give to a question like that is, you got to be doing something. And so that's, I look like other people here, I look for something that I can do that in whatever small way ameliorates the problem.
Thank you, Larry. That's a great word to end our reflections on. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing number 391, Voice Still and Small.
Don't start singing just yet. You give a guy a microphone and you get what you get. I would like to ask Dan to just play it through without anybody singing. And then we will, those 15 of us who have gotten the right to sing, will sing it. And then everybody can hum it. Because the law did not specify humming as off limits. So let's go. Let's slow it down. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
As we go forward into this frightening, exhilarating, confusing, miraculous world, may we offer our comfort to the afflicted, our love to those who are lonely, and our wish for all to be safe. Thank you.